Dumelang Thobela Bsheni Molweni Ndani Njani Lekai. How are you? Sanbanani. How is everybody doing today, man? Beautiful Sunday, as every day is a Sunday, because every day the sun comes out. So therefore we celebrate the sun and we're grateful for the sun for giving us the heat, the warmth, the love, the sunshine that keeps us all so nice and bubbly and full of energy. So re leboga letšatši for every single day, le tlhabang, and all of the light and the energy that it gives us. Today I want to talk about a subject that is very important to me. And I think it's important, particularly as we get older. And because we need structure, we need structure and order. We need to find a way to manage things as a people, as a community. So a systematic way of handling things. And so I figured it's important. As you can see, you've been following me on my Facebook. I've been posting videos about my late pregnancy. Because I'm beginning to realize, man, like, we need to learn, like there's so many things we need to figure out. We need to learn how to be able to pick partners. We need to be able to know whether we are ready to be pregnant. With having a baby. As a man, as a woman, what are some of the things you need to prepare for? What are some of the things maybe I didn't in the beginning, but they become very important along the way, And so I figured, because I think there are many people today that are unhappy, miserable, bitter because they chose a partner that makes life horrible for them. They can't be a parent, but they are parents. They are had a child with the wrong person, had a child at a time when you're not ready to have a child, had a child and you're being denied the opportunity to be a parent, or you don't know how to feed the baby, you give the baby junk, you give the baby GMOs, and they inject the child with all sorts of injections and all sorts of things. You take the baby's life and you put it at risk because you lack knowledge, because we lack knowledge. So I thought, let's sit down today and talk about how do we choose a partner? How do we know when you're ready to be a parent? How do you know when it's the right time for ube motswadi? And what are some of those responsibilities? I think for me, and as you come into the chat room, guys, feel free to do medisha. My greatest and best affirmation is I love myself. So feel free when you come into the chat room, just say that you love you. And I think that is a beautiful thing because love starts with you loving yourself. And if you know how to love yourself, easy or somebody else because o te apere ka kobo ya lerato, te apešitše ka kobo ya lerato. So therefore, feel free go apara kobo ya lerato and bring it over here and spread your love with us, yeah? So let's talk about this thing, guys. Preparing to become parents, not just to get pregnant, preparing to become parents, because ultimately pregnancy leads to being a parent. Okay, you're a parent now. Responsibilities are on your shoulders. You have to raise another life. You have to guide. You have to feed. You have to nurture. You have to be emotionally attuned. About the cues. About what does this mean? When I behave like this, what does it mean? You need to know to manage another human being, your partner. The man or woman in your life. How do you now make it an environment where it's not just about you and thinking it's just about you, whether you're a mother or a father. And then you deny the child the opportunity or experience of both parents, which I think is very critical towards the development of the child's brain, especially the logic part, which is something that Mutuamunna brings to the table. Logic. So without logic, many children become emotionally very imbalanced. Most men become emotionally aggressive because I think how to manage their emotions. So therefore, that balance between a man and a woman, a healthy balance between a man and a woman. So I think go bohlokwa gore before motho a decide gore yena o tlo ba le ngwana, before you decide to get pregnant, I think the first and most important thing you need to look at as an individual, am I good? Have I worked on myself? Because what you see, the aim of bringing a child into the world is so that you can show the child how to become a better person. You see? You can show the world, you can show that child how to be a better person. And then by so doing, your life can be an example to that child. And so if you have not done the work on you, if you have not cultivated yourself enough to be an example to your child, then I don't think you're ready to be a parent. Because and I know that many people, many women and men, they don't have healthy relationships with their children. They look at their children and they say the most horrible of things, or and also. But if you take a very good look, you will realize that those children are actually a reflection of the parents. Okay? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, it's a fact. Banabagawa are a reflection of you. Some of us were a reflection of our parents. Some of us, we saw what our parents were like, and then we chose to do the opposite because we decided to recreate ourselves differently. We didn't define ourselves according to our parents. But nevertheless, when you become a parent, your children are most likely going to emulate you. Ba tlo ithuta bo setho ka wena, ba tlo ithuta botho ka wena, ba tlo ithuta go apara ka wena, ba tlo ithuta go bolela ka wena, ba tlo tseba how do you communicate ka wena. They will be observing you the whole time. Or now when I engage and then they will be trying to emulate you because that's just how children are designed to be. They're designed to want to model after their parents. So if we're now so to do the work on yourself, then ideally one does not have the right example. So the first person you need to work on, you feel at some point one day, the first person you need to work on is yourself. Okay? You need to now decide that you are going to become your first and most important project. That you're going to work on your emotions so that you can communicate in a healthy way. Because you have another person to consider. Remember, in your life, you have to consider your relationship with this person. You need to know how that the way we communicate is in a healthy way, that you are building instead of breaking down. You need to know that you can sustain a long-term relationship with somebody and consider their feelings and their thoughts and their goals and their missions, and that you can grow with this person. Because ultimately, having a children means becoming parents, becoming a family. You can't just have a child and think it's okay, or when that is where the dysfunction firstly comes into the family. The dysfunction comes in when the child cannot learn from both parents. So the most fundamental part, it means a family. It just means that. There's nothing else. It means family, because family is the completion of the right and the left brain, particularly if the parents are both balanced. So as a man, you work on yourself so that emotionally you are balanced, intellectually you're balanced. In fact, you have a mission, you know where you're going in life. You know where you're trying to take your kids. You know what your mission is in life. You know why you are having children. You know why you are bringing a woman into your life, because you realize, or I need to build an empire. I need to have somebody to come and help me so that we can reproduce these things that I'm working on, and they can come and help me in this thing. You know, that's the purpose I would like to believe. So if that is the purpose, it means there's a mission involved here. You know, what's the mission? Why are you guys coming together? Do you guys see each other? Do you see each other reflecting in one another? Do you guys see something? Do you have the same values? Do you have the same views? How are your... Because but you guys have a child. So who is supposed to follow who here? How are we supposed to build here? The women doesn't know how to play her position. The man doesn't know how to play her position. Both of them are clashy. That they need to raise. And this child needs to be raised in a place where two people who walk together walk alike. Because it's impossible for two people to build if they both have two separate views about life. So you need to make sure that you know yourself, you know what you want, you know where you are going in life, so that even when you are about to now choose a partner, or to choose somebody with your views and your on religion, on money, on how to raise the children, where to raise them, all of these things. So the fundamental part is first working on you and then being able to attract somebody who has the same type of views that you do. Okay? I can imagine as a man who I'm trying to live this healthy lifestyle, you know, eat all sorts of junk food, all the time, because simply her views on food, her views on probably also knowledge in general is not the same as mine. I may see the world in a way that says, hey, you can't eat that, don't eat that, no, don't touch that. She may be saying, oh, these are all the things that I like. So we're going to clash. She cannot be a good fit for me. But the only way I can know the right type of partner for me is if I know what I want for myself. So it first starts with you. Like I know right now, as a 30-something-year-old male, that for me, the purpose of having a woman, number one, is to build with her. And if I was to have children with this woman, the purpose is to raise these children a certain way. And I know specifically that way. And therefore, these are the first things that I try to talk to a woman about, to see, the same way. Does she see the things that I see? Can we walk together in this journey? You know, how can the two walk together unless the two agree, right? So I'm trying to see, do we agree? Do we agree in terms of views on spirituality? Do we agree on terms of how we feed children? Do we agree in terms of how we are going to teach these children? Like, do we see the same things that I do? Do you see that there's something wrong with this education system? Oh, okay, so we can do homeschool, great stuff. I like that. I'm for homeschool, you know. And then what type of food? I like how you live. I think you eat right. I would want somebody who's going to feed my children the way you eat. Therefore, you qualify. Soon as you know yourself as a man and you know your mission, it's easier to then attract that type of person. Even as a woman, soon as you know, okay, now I'm plant-based because I'm not going to be poisoning myself. Another thing is this: if I'm going to have children, I got to be responsible for another person's life. And so therefore, it's no longer about me anymore. And I need to know enough to know that I'm making the right decisions, such as I know they're injecting the animals with hormones. I know they're giving them antibiotics and steroids. I know that they're raising these animals in a cruel environment. Therefore, I cannot think energy and give it to my children and think they're going to be healthy. No. Knowledge has to be what guides you. And for me, I think that is the fundamental aspect of choosing a great partner so you guys can become great parents. Because then bobedi jwa lena le kgono wa bana ba lena ka lesedi le kgono wa motse ka lesedi. I think what I don't appreciate is the fact that we are raised in a society that almost perpetuates brokenness. We are no longer taught that it is important to have a successful family for the sake of the children that we are bringing along. In fact, the aim of bringing a children into the world should be to have a successful family. Nothing else. We shouldn't be having children and using them as cause. That is bitterness. That is brokenness. Once omonga threaten omonga ka hore wena ka sa kgona bona ngwana ga, why did you even have that child? So when I berekisha ngwana as a weapon to hurt another person, how broken must you be? Huh? How miserable are you inside of yourself that you don't even see you're so about you? So what is the purpose why we are having children? Why? Why do people have children? What is the aim of having children? My question to you is this: why did you choose to have children? What is the purpose that you decided you're going to have these children for? Morero wa gago e be le eng go shalo re ke ba le bana. We ba le bana gore go tle go diragale eng? Bo nya gore go tle go diragale eng? Gore o tlo kwishe motho mongwe bohloko. Gore o tlo mo fe dijo tse ileng gore di tlo mmajwisha. A tla phela dipetlele le ditleliniking. A phela a nema mmila the whole time. Ngwano wa mrena o wena o decide-ileng go robala le motho wa gago la motlisha mo lefaseng go no le tle le mo hlakisheng le mo phedisheng bohloko so. Is this why we have children? I don't think so. But you see, we are producing children in our brokenness. We are producing children without self-awareness. Or na ke ready na. Am I ready? You know? Am I ready? Do I know enough about me? Can I handle myself emotionally? Can somebody else be able to get along with me for a long period of time? A ke tene, a ke tlapele motho. A ke ne mekgwa e mebe e leng gore e tlo dira gore ngwana la tla suffer ka baka laka. Because some of you, your children are suffering because of you, because you are not willing to do the work on yourself, because you are ignorant. You're not willing to become aware you come from a toxic family, and that toxic family passed on toxic traits onto you. Or lack of self-awareness. You are busy in victim mode, blaming everybody for everything that is wrong except you, tapping into narcissistic behavior. And narcissistic people don't care about another person, they only care about themselves. They will even accuse you of doing wrong just so that they don't have to look at themselves. And this is the state in which we are producing children. So, are you ready to have a child? I don't think many of us are ready to have children yet. You can be in your 20s, you can have money, and you can have a nice job, and you can have many cars. Mara, are you ready to develop another character into a well-built human being? Truth of the matter is many people are not, regardless of age. They are still emotionally imbalanced. You can't have an intelligent relationship with them. You can't have an intelligent conversation with them. You can't even challenge their perspective because they get personal. So how are you going to be able to shape the character of another person if they can't test you? These children are brought here to come and help you become a better person by pressing the very same buttons you don't want. And so because you are exposing your parents' weaknesses and they hate them. They hate the fact that they have to look at themselves and see where they are imperfect because they were not willing to work on themselves. So don't let that be you. If you are the person who is watching this live today, I'm saying don't let it be you. Do not be the reason why your children are broken because you are unwilling to fix your brokenness. Because the illusion is that we are all perfect. Hey. The illusion is we are all perfect. Oh, we see nothing but perfection. But then when you get to know that person, you begin to realize, oh, the issue. I see, the issue. You know? And so the question becomes, are you willing to work on these issues? Are you willing to work on these issues? Nah. And so these type of people who are not willing to work on these issues are the people who end up creating this broken family society. And a broken family, Barry, we don't have a community problem. We have a family problem that affects the community because in a way that is going to be positive towards the contribution in the community. If that child is not raised in such a way that that child is going to bring something positive to the community, then that child becomes a liability to the community because that child becomes a thief. That child becomes a drug addict and they start breaking into people's homes and stealing stuff and whatnot because the parents were not willing to work on themselves first before they started having children. So the community problems that we have are not necessarily community problems. They come from the fact that these people come from broken families. Broken families are made up of two broken people that are passive. They are not willing to look at themselves and fix themselves, but passive. They are better. It is better to blame another person, to blame their mother, to blame their father, to blame school, to blame their past relationships, to blame everybody because they're not willing to work on themselves. So now, how can this type of person be turn around and be able to be a parent? Yena ka bo yena a sa tšwa tšea maikemišetšo godimo ga selo, a sa tšwa tšea maikarabelo godimo ga selo, including dilo tšeo yena di dirileng goba di mo diragetseng bophelong jwa gagwe. How can this person now be able to be responsible for another life if they cannot be responsible for their own life? Once somebody is a victim, trying to blame and judge other people and point the finger at them and say they are the reason why life here are the way they are, and they're not willing to work on themselves, don't make that person a parent or do not have a child with that person because that person lacks self-awareness. You'll always be the one who is wrong in that relationship. It's going to end up being toxic and unhealthy towards you as an individual. So before we can even talk about, oh, you need to make sure you eat right in order to prepare to get pregnant, you got to make sure that you are spiritually, you are cleansing and that you are, detoxing your body, and you are making sure before the physical work that you do on the body, the most important thing is to first do the intellectual work and the emotional work. And this is not in just preparing to be a parent. No, it's in preparing to be a great person in general. So that when you get into relationships, or if you desire to get into relationships, then you can come in or somebody can build with. And you are healthy enough to actually build with. You see? You don't have a lot of hang-ups that make it difficult for people to get along with you. Because, you see, having children is not the problem. Two people to lay down and give birth to a child. It's simple. I love myself too. Thank you for joining, Eugene. That is very simple. Yo, we don't even have to teach you. We don't even have to discuss, oh, you do this. Like, that one is rocket science. It's easy to figure out how to conceive. What is challenging is being the right people to be able to raise children. That is what is very challenging. And the toxicity of community, it's more. See? Toxicity of community, it's from the fact that we don't know how to become the right people in order to raise children that are going to make us proud in the community, because we have not done the work on ourselves. So before you think about having a child, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, am I responsible for my own life? Am I responsible? Do I take responsibility for where my life is today? Or I can blame batswadi baka. I blame my past. Because if you say more, you're not ready to have a child. You're just going to pass down your history onto your child. And your history is all trauma and pain and suffering and all the pains that happen to you. You're not ready. You gotta be in a good place mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Like, you gotta make sure you are ready now to take on the burdens that come with having to build with multiple people. Because now you're going to build with your partner and you're going to be able to build with your child. Manage a relationship le ngwana ga mmogo le molekane wa gago. Wa e bona? Ba bona re tlo go nyaka go tseba go manage the relationship jwale. Now, the question is now, can you do that? Now, how to manage the relationship? Now, motho le ngore batho ba ba kgona kwana le yena. Can people get along easy with you? Whatever. You go around gossiping. Do you deal with matters directly? Or you hold on to things and you don't talk about them and then you explode? Do you hold on to resentment? Or go kwatile sa botse motho a sa tsebe gore wena o kwatile gane wena o kwatile. O no makala o sa tlosa mmolediša. O no makala o mo fa di attitudes. So crazy. motho no magala mo fa diati o no magala motho tsa go fa di-attitude the moods. Huh? No, I thought everything was okay. They can't communicate in a healthy way. They are still holding on to how they were treated when they were children, when they couldn't communicate. Because when you were a child and somebody outswing you emotionally, you may not know how to communicate all of that. You may just get angry. That's what we did when we were children. Some people never develop to become adults and be able to communicate. They remain children. They want you to go to them and say, shame, and this is a grown man. This is a grown man. He stonewalls you. Huh? Huh? He stonewalls. You don't even know what the problem is, but this person ukwatile. Like, how can this person abe motswadi? And now wa go kwatela go nore a pallan le go no tšweletša gore o kwatetseng. And now wa no go a pallan le go no tšweletša gore o kwatetseng. And now o no kwata go mo nya go ba motswadi. How? It's not possible. Like, you don't have that luxury. You don't know behave like a child anymore. At some point, you gotta realize your emotions don't matter. They do, but they are not the most important thing. Resolving the issue is the most important thing. Being able to build is the most important thing. Being able to create a harmonious environment where everybody can thrive, that is what's most important. Not your feelings. And so there are some adults who still live in their feelings and they are not yet ready to deal with a person on a logical level. They still want to deal with matters on an emotional level. How can you build when you are in your feelings? How are you going to be able to communicate well when you are in your feelings? Because we all know feelings are deceptive. Today you feel like this, wa rogana. Ka moswane o tsoga o itshola. So yole motho ena sentja no gotlela go no wena go fila so wa rogana how fila so wa raka wa itia and then ga mosane ge le tlhaba man nqa monna wa tsaba oh so wow, you are an adult who still does not know how to manage themselves. How can you have a child and be able to be responsible for that child? It's not possible. It's not possible. So our first and most important responsibility is working on yourself. Nangarata responsible fathers who have done the work on themselves, who can lead, man, who can teach their children and guide them, who can show them the right way so we can build healthy and strong communities. Young examples of leaders, because radihloka, guys, no matter what they say in this world, radihloka ba etapele. Radihloka bana ba ileng gore ba te tshwara ka maemo a godimo ba re nna nka ke tlo te tšhilafatša ke tlo te tsentšha ka gare ga dilo tša lefase tša go senkiše felo ke a bona gore ke na le morero mo lefaseng ke tlile go tlo dira morero wa ka, therefore ke tlo itshwara ka mokgwa e leng gore go a bontšha gore ke a tseba gore ke tšwa kae ene ke a kae. A ke tlo dira dilo tše e leng gore di tswile tseleng, ke tlo ba le maitshwaro wa e leng gore a bontšha gore ke monna wa go ba le maikarabelo. We need that. We can't all just be popping bottles, clubbing, taking drugs, smoking, drinking alcohol, chasing after girls. We can't all do that. We can't all live in a society where nobody seems to care about morals and values anymore. We can't. We can't live in a society where it's okay to just have children and not raise them and not be there. And then menace to society, these children, no, these parents. They were rushing to have sex. It was all about sex to them. It was not about making sure that they are ready to deal with the consequences of sex. So we live in a society where we are told sex exists, sex as if sex has any consequences. Sex has a lot of consequences and it comes with a lot of responsibility. So we must not treat this thing as if it's something to play with. And this is why the media is dangerous, because it has overly sexualized everything. Now the world has turned into a cesspool. We think it's okay to just go around having sex with everybody. It's a game now. And so the society why? No, guys, it's us. We are the problem. We have been misguided. This is not how our ancestors did things, guys. This thing, yeah, the single mother parents and single parent homes and fatherless children, this is chaos. This is not the way. This thing of us fighting about which parent is going to be there and you shouldn't be here, and we're taking out our bitterness on each other, and we have parents who are busy helping their children to fight with the father of their children. That is toxic. That is not why we brought these children into the world. We are going to continue to create more trauma for those children. It's not about you no more. Once we've motswadi, it's not about you no more. This is why we get out of that infancy state. This is why working on yourself is the first and most important thing, because you need to make sure you are ready for what you are bringing into this earth. You can't just have children and think everything is okay. You're just going to go on like the way you did. No, something has got to change. Your mind has to change. Your feelings have to change. Your actions have to change. You gotta be responsible. No, ngwana o sentse a fepiwe, a apishwe, a rutiwe, o sentse a develop into somebody who sentse a tšee maikarabelo, and it has to be the two people who decided to lay down and bring that child in here. A le na le right ya go no decide gore lena le tlo ngalelana le tlo fana di attitude. No, and that is why you're not making responsible decisions as parents, and that is why bana ba lena ba feletse ba sacrifice so much, ba phedisha ka dipilisi le all sorts of because we are not focusing on working on ourselves. We are so focusing on politics. We are so busy with drama on TV. We're not reading self or personal development material because we don't think that developing ourselves is important. Yes, it is. The way you eat is important. Hello? You're going to teach your children to eat the way you eat. And if you're out of shape and you're already sick and you're taking pills, that is your children's destiny. Why the hell did you bring those children here? To come and live your miserable life? To be as sick as you are? To be misled? Because you lack the awareness to use your brain effectively as an adult, to be a critical thinker? Come on! It's a huge responsibility over Motswadi. The question is, can you lead yourself first before you want to lead people? Before you want to have a woman and have children, can you lead yourself? You may not be perfect, but are you on a good path? I think to me, that is what matters more than anything. Are you becoming the type of man who your children can be saying, I am proud that this is my parent? May not be perfect, but God damn, this person kept it real with me. They taught me the right things. They shared the right knowledge with me. They helped me to develop into a great person. I am who I am today. I am healthy. I am fit. I am successful because of my parents. That is the story we want to hear. And so, I think before we even talk about having girlfriends and boyfriends and husbands and wives, the first thing we need to do, guys, is to look at ourselves and say, nna ke le molo, nna ke ready. Gore mohlang somebody a etla ka matsogong a kare, ke tlo tshwanela ke go mo hlokomela. Nna ke ready go ka kgona go hlokomela motho mongwe na. E ka ba nna ke a kgona go itlhokomela na. And ge ke sa kgone na e ka dira eng gore mo ke sa kgoneng ke lokiše, gore mohlang ke tlo ba le somebody else o tlo ba maikarabelo wa ka e go bane ke a mo kgona jwale ka ge ke ikgona. Wa bona? That's why I delayed for such a long time to have children. Delayed because I realized it's too much trauma to grow up without your parents. Or to grow up in an unhealthy, it's too much trauma. And this is something that is not spoken about a lot. But it is too much trauma to grow up in a family where it is chaos. It is too much trauma. Nto e tshwenya botho moyeng, ba bang e ba tshwenya for life. They never recover to become themselves. They become products of where they come from, and that becomes the story of their lives, nothing else. They just become broken just like their parents were broken. They become drunks just like their parents were drunks. They get into alcohol and drugs just like their parents got into alcohol and drugs. You know, they get into anger and killing and thuggery and gangsterism because bagola around Jamhuto. Your children become just like you. It is only those who say something is wrong here. I cannot be like my parents. I gotta be different. Very few actually are able to disassociate themselves from where they come from, and they can shape themselves into something new. Majority of people, your environment plays a huge role into the person that you're going to become. So therefore, your environment as an individual, whether you're a man or a woman, an environment from inside of you. Emotionally, are you good? Can you disagree with somebody and still keep it cool? Can somebody tell you something about you that you may not appreciate, that may be true, but you don't like it, but it is true? Can you take it? Can you humbly say, and I will make the changes? You are right. I made a mistake. Can you do that? Because the things that break people apart are not the major things. It's small things like, everything I did right now perfect. And you're like, I can't tolerate living with somebody who thinks everything they do is right and they are never wrong. You are wrong. But the problem is you don't want to accept your mistakes because you are living in your ego. Do you understand? Are you evolving above your ego? Are you growing within self enough to know that you are not your behavior, that your behavior is a result of the conditioning that you have been receiving since you were a child, and that if your behavior is not positive, you can change your behavior. You can become somebody different. You can absorb new knowledge which programs your mind to think differently. You can change yourself. You can break away from the things that you come out of, the toxic family environment. You can develop into a new person who builds a beautiful family. You can do that. You have the power to do that. But it starts with you. I told me with looking for a beautiful woman or a beautiful man, or looking for a successful career. I told me more. It told me with you being somebody who long or hono pela le motho mo ngabotse. O gona go ipona phosho. O gona go lokisha. O gona go gopela tshwarelo. O gona go initiative. Are you studying well enough to be able to share information with somebody? You know, are you, man? Like, are you growing? You know, are you growing, Joe? Are you growing inside of you? Is the journey of being you beautiful? Could I become beautiful just being around you? Is there some beauty that can spill out from out of you and onto me? Are you beautiful inside? Are you? Because if you are, then oh my gosh, you are going to be able to bring beauty into the world. You know, you're going to be able to be lovable and loving and caring and kind, and you're going to be able to be patient. The way I'm moledišang o ka re o mo hloile, and ngwana o šetša kwa gore gabotse ma ke ratwe, and then ngwana le o ipotša gore gabotse nna ke dirileng a wa dira selo. That person on the issue from their past they never dealt with. O mmago sa kwatile, o rrago sa kwatile. Never be able to deal with their own things. They couldn't. Now here you are, a victim of their environment. But you know, you have a choice regardless. And I'll copy an information like the one that I'm sharing right now. That should empower you. Because we all come from some level of brokenness. Whether that broke you somehow. If you didn't have a good mother, that broke you somehow. If she was there but she was not emotionally available, that broke you somehow. If your father was there but he was not emotionally available, that broke you. If he was not there, that broke you. You see? Whether they were fighting, they were fighting, that broke you. Whether they never showed each other affection and love, that broke you. You have a distorted perspective on what a healthy relationship is. You have never seen it. The healthy relationship we're gonna have to learn for ourselves. Or now, what does it mean to be a healthy parent? Now, how do I make sure I do this right so that atla ba re wena le galebe ke go bona gore bo rata mang go fetiša nna ene o hwetse le gore ke nnete o bo le motswadi wa go kgethologanya. Possible there are parents who have favorites and they scar their children and they ask themselves, what do I do to not receive love just like my sister or my brother? How come they are loved so much? You never worked on you as a parent. You never really made sure that you become the type of person who can be fair. You're not fair. You're not a fair parent. You are only favorites. You pin your children against each other, man. Some parents do that. They make their children hate each other. So, honestly, it is time for us to reflect on the decisions that we make as we grow older. It is time for us to know what the decisions can affect the generation that comes after us. It is time for us to acknowledge the fact that growth and development is the huge part of our success as a people, and that we need to work on ourselves to become the best version of ourselves, not just for anyone, but really for ourselves. And the fact that many of us one day plan our babatswadi, and this thing is if one day our motswadi is nonsense. When you talk about life, you have folk. Folk. So life of folk means I don't care what society or what my parents or I don't care about the implications of my decisions. I only care about me. I'm selfish as hell. And so they live life like that. And then those people one day, they lay down with somebody and they produce a child. What do you think is going to happen with that child? We need to have better standards. Ladies, you need to have better standards. Men, you need to have better standards. Some men, some women are not ready to be parents. Leave them alone. And judge a person by the content of their character. Molebelele or na kannete mutoki una le character ya motho mogolo na motho wa mechwara motho na, because parenting inyaka maturity. Parenting inyaka maturity. Ge le re ke ron le mpotse, parenting inyaka maturity. Yeah, you know, we don't have the ability to see or now. That's true. That's true. And I think I'm glad enough, because you see, when you love knowledge, eventually you bump into knowledge about you. When I first moved home, I started reading a book that I think it says it did not begin with you. The issues that you're dealing with did not begin with you. I began reading that book and I began to realize the patterns in my own life as I was reading that book. And as I was reading that book, I began sitting down with my mother and I was like, this portion speaks to me in something that has been very important. And I didn't know how to communicate it. By reading this book, I was able to see what I've always wanted to tell you about how this affected me when I was growing up. And then we were able to talk about it. And she was like, oh, Gabon. And I was like, it's a good way to heal, because you begin to realize my parents are not perfect. My mother is not perfect. My father is not perfect. They make mistakes. But as I become aware of knowledge that helps me see the world better, I need to be able to sit them down and show them, mo old lady ne, mo wana lempa izishije. Ya tseba hore bese ma ikemishetjwa le ena, that you know, a one motswadi we leng gore no ba le bana nya go ba kusha botlhoko, but ebe le ge le hore bese ma ikemishetjwa le ena, ma bona mo ona le nkushitse botlhoko mo. And tla go bontsha hore nkushitse botlhoko ka mokgwa mohuta mang. You see, when we mature, when we can sit down with our parents and we can talk to them like this, it helps us not be so judgmental of our parents, because then we carry that thing with us and then we are going to pass it down to our children. So I think it's best to learn to heal from realizing batswadi ba rena ba perfect, and they need us to be aware that they lacked knowledge and guidance too. that le somebody to teach them how to become great parents. That this thing is really a school, and it starts with self. When you work on you, you're able to see what another person lacks, where you can have empathy. You can see, ooh, the reason this person are communicating so aggressively is because they feel that people never listen to them, and so they feel they have to be like this. So you assure them that, look, you don't have to be aggressive at all. Nothing. I'm here, Joe. Go tell each. Like, speak politely. I am paying careful attention to everything that you're saying. I will not undermine anything. In fact, I will interrupt over there and allow you to speak. And then that person finally feels, hey, I was under resistance in moments. Nobody's fighting with me no more. I don't have to fight to be heard anymore. I can just talk. And therefore, their nervous system relaxes because they realize, yeah, this is not the person. This is not my enemy. And because most people in relationships, it feels like you are in a relationship with your enemy. Ikari, this person, Ikari, it's almost like you came together to fight. And that's not the case. The truth is you came together to build. But because people have never been in a relationship or in a space with somebody who allows them to be able to freely be, they are suspicious. They are not truly sure that they can really be safe, and so they feel like they have to be at war to test to see whether you truly are like that. And that's just the result of how people were raised, whether by their parents or by their previous relationships. But it feels like we are at war with your partner because your partner is at war with themselves. They have fights that they have been engaged in that they're still holding on to the feelings of those fights. Even if they're no longer in the fight, but they're still holding on to the feelings of those fights. And so they bring those feelings with them into your situation, whether they come from their parents or from their past relationship, but they bring in. So what you need to do as a person is you need to identify those things. But Okasidi identify if you yourself are still in that place of hurting, because so who's going to help the other person now? Nobody. And it's hard to love a narcissist. Hard to love a narcissist. Very hard to love a narcissist, because a narcissist is somebody who is not self-aware. A narcissist at a point in ego mode. You are the enemy, just like Papa the enemy or Mama the enemy. Everybody is against her, or everybody is against me, and they have the same type of pattern. Nobody loves me. It's not that people don't love you, it's that you have not been loved before. So you think that everybody is supposed to love you how you think you should be loved. No, even when somebody is loving you, because you're not used to seeing, like for example, disciplinarian love, something without that person. No, that's not the case. I disagree with you on something, but it doesn't mean our rat. In fact, that's the reason why but in your brokenness, you think that person is your enemy. So many marriages, many relationships are like this because the person is still operating from the level of their ego. So you as an individual need to go on a spiritual journey. I want solution is saying when a great parent, a great person inside of yourself, in your mind, in your emotions, in your spirituality, and also in your physical body. I want a successful marriage that will not comprise of 4 of these people working on these 4 things. Each of you, if you are choosing a partner and mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, they are not engaging in behaviors and activities, this person is on a journey to becoming the best version of themselves, that person is not ready. They are not ready. That's right. Thank you. Thank you, MSC. Thank you for sharing, bro. That person is not ready. You need to work on you. You need to make sure if you are working on you, you only choose a partner who is working on themselves. This message is not for everyone. Some people, they don't care about having to choose right. They don't care about choosing right. And then the next thing that we should probably talk about next time is making sure that the person you choose comes from a family right. because this is another thing that we don't talk about. Because Orokono choose a right, ko check the foundation. And then many of us, we don't have the time to look for foundation. Renokopana le motho, ramochia at face value, hani man. O nne le batho ba dintwa ka kwa gago. Ba tlo di tlisha maga gago. And then ba tlo le tloshalantsa, ba tlo le lehlantsa bana ba lena, family ya lena ba tlo try go isenya because they are broken. Broken families raise broken families. Broken families raise broken families. They teach their children brokenness. They teach their children that nobody can love you. Nobody can love you. You gotta be careful. People cannot love you. Everybody's out for you. You gotta be careful. It's just us. Okay? So don't think mushimanyana lo wa go rata nne. No. Libila ka no se be gona bophelong jwa ngwana ga gago go ne molato. That's what they tell their children. Wanyana lo wa moloi. Batswadi ba rena bana ba. Ke batswadi ba rena bana ba. And these people are supposed to help us build families. But look at how they are talking. So family, the family of the person you choose, hey. Some families bantu. They are at war. And you ask yourself, what the hell? I didn't come here to fight. They are at war with themselves. You find a family that is at war with itself, and you came into the war. You had no idea you were coming into a war, but guess what? What's an intwe? You are now somehow affected by that. It's not your fault. We get it. We were not advised. Tradition, we don't know how to choose right anymore. And we are not guided by principles, by structures, our community anymore. Our parents are no longer following tradition on how to help us choose. So therefore, we end up choosing for ourselves, and statistics have shown us, because today divorce rates are at 60 to 70%. Statistics have shown us that we don't know how to choose best. We don't know how to. If we knew how to choose our own partners right, 70% of our marriages would not be failing, or 60% of our marriages would not be failing. Many of our children will not be growing up in broken families. Both parents would be in the home. But this is the results. So kalbakaleo, we need some form of guidance, some form of teaching, some form of structure, some form of order, some form of culture, some form of tradition, some form of ritual, some form of assistance from the elders. Or now, how do we do it right? So that reskerate kwecha ro wetsi di dibeng. Ba re ngwana magana go botsa o wetse di koma di shile. Are di koma ke tšabo. Bale a re skera wela di koma di shile banna ba gesho. Yeah. Mr. Chirizi, welcome back, sir. It's been a while. Thank you for sharing. I should actually do a nice, we should actually share a live, you and I. Maybe we can share a lot of what you have learned in your journey, especially when it comes to marriage. Because I believe in polygamy as one of the solutions to monogamy, because I see that we have a problem with men who lie, men who cheat, and women who have also joined them. And thus, part of the reason that we are seeing this broken society is cheating. So cheating has become a big problem. And the elders had come up with polygamy to solve such problems. But we have not been practicing polygamy for quite some time now. And it is no longer a common practice. And because of that, we now see polygamy being practiced in a bastardized way. Polygamy is being practiced in a bastardized way. And so now we have a problem because our community is falling apart, and children are growing up without fathers, and mothers are not able to raise these children well because they need assistance. And there's no assistance because there's a war between us. And this war is created by the fact that we have no knowledge of self, and we are not honest about each other, about ourselves to each other. You see, women don't want to know, or men are afraid of telling women, I'm actually polygamous. I know that I cannot be with one woman. We are afraid. And women are scared of such truth. So they fight with it. So men, instead of saying it, they lie. They hide it. And they sneak around, and then they produce children in the dark. and in the sides and with other girls and whatnots. And then these children grow up without parents, and then they know Papa Kyola, Papa Untroid, therefore, folk. Maybe things are not so cool. Mama create another man. That man does not treat the child well. The child feels like I'm a curse. Now my father doesn't want me. Here I have a stepfather who doesn't treat me well. What did I do to deserve this? I'm gonna make sure the whole world pays. And that child goes out into the streets. And you know what Tupac says, right? Young black male, young lost young black males, full of anger, fatherless. Who is going to stop this child? Nobody. His anger is raging from the fact that he never got love from his father. He was never acknowledged by no man. Nobody ever claimed him as his son and dawed an image on him of confidence. No, he feels weak within himself because nobody ever told him, son, you are me. I love you. Let me show you how to do this. Nobody ever showed him love. So he's a young black male who is scared, angry at the world, and he's going to make sure the whole world pays for the pain that you have created for him. You see the problem? You see the problem? Yeah. Guys, I don't know, one day maybe I will have like once I open my shop, I'll invite you guys, those of you who would be willing to come in. I think it's important to talk about these things because I think building communities is important. I think building families is important. For some reason, I'm not drawn to foolishness. I'm not drawn to pubs, to clubs, to girls, to partying. I'm not drawn to that. I'm drawn to constructive stuff. I'm drawn to building stuff. I'm drawn to building businesses and building food industry and healing. And I'm drawn to that. Those are the things that pull me at my heart. And so I would like to create a community of people who also care about the most important things, Mulafasi, so that we can build successful communities and successful families. And we can show the world, man. You know, when you look at a nation like Russia, and you look at a leader like Vladimir Putin, and you see how leadership can bring order to a society, I admire that so much. Leadership can bring such order to a society that you live in a world where you are proud, very proud. I want that. I want to thrive from the bottom of my heart. I want to feel those good feelings when I look at a nation and see how we thrive as a nation. I think nothing motivates me more than seeing us thrive as a nation. Thriving as a nation, working, building solutions, firms, businesses, growing food, building our own shops, having our own African economy, man. Our own stuff, our own communities, where I know my child is going to be married into a home of a man I respect. I want a community of men who I can be proud to say, Wanaka mfanaka, wena msadi, wena, the way I want my children to come and marry into you. Because I like the way you raise yourself. I like the way you carry yourself, the way you carry you and your women, the way you carry yourself, the way you raise your children. I would want my family to be to gain from the seeds that you are sowing in your children. I wanna make sure that I secure my children's future by building with men and women who also want their children's future to be secured by making sure that they build with those that also see a vision of the future, not just some family that is going to drag them to a pub and get their children drunk and missionless. Really? What achievement is that? We can't be proud. We need to be proud of of the people we marry into. We need to be very careful who we marry into. Some families will bring you down. They will drag you down. Instead of helping you build, they will create chaos for you. So have pride in yourself and the people you choose to have children with and the families that you marry from. Have pride. Take careful attention. Pay careful attention. Make sure the seeds that you sow are going to bear ripe fruit. Don't be bamboozled by booty, by money, by fame, by all sorts of nonsense that is fake Those things are not going to develop your child. You want to make sure you are building with people who are building success holistically, not just some form of success, holistically, which means mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And all of that will translate into the financial aspect of it. There is no way you can build, when you put yourself together, so does your world. You attract into your life whatever you are. So if you are abundant, if you are healthy, if you are thinking creatively and coming up with solutions, the world conspires with you to give you exactly that which you are putting out into the world. Money cannot be a problem for somebody who is working on themselves and making sure that they become the best version of themselves. Money is not going to be an issue for this type of person. Focus on those things. Those are the values, the true values of what builds a nation. I think we have a better chance of building beautiful homes, beautiful communities, beautiful children, successful communities, successful nations. We are going to make sure we are good mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and also that the person that we are attracting are a reflection of the fact that we've been doing the inner work, and they're a family, and they come from a family who understand the fundamentals of building. All right? Because we need people who are going to do it right. We need you to do it right. Family, I will get into the health part of it, because I think one of the things we need to talk about now is the physical part of actually getting ready to get pregnant, which is making sure you get on a regimen, a certain lifestyle that prepares the woman months before she gets pregnant. Months or years before you get pregnant, you gotta get ready. A child cannot grow up in an acidic environment. No, life does not thrive in an acidic environment. No, life can only thrive in an alkaline environment. So your woman, and you as a man, your sperm, your semen has to be alkaline in order for it to survive the acid inside the woman's reproductive system, because the woman's reproductive system is acidic. But that doesn't mean her whole system is acidic. No, it's meant to kill all of the bacteria. Okay, so it's acidic for that purpose. So only healthy alkaline sperm can be able to fertilize an egg for those men who are struggling to give birth to or to reproduce. It is because your sperm is weak because you are eating the pato. Okay, you're drinking too much Coca-Cola and too much beer. You have too much sugar in your system. Okay, your sperm cells cannot be strong because it's not building from alkaline. You are building with acid. How can you build a strong sperm cell when you're taking in acid and starch? It's not possible. Okay, so those are some of the things that men and women need to work on while preparing to get pregnant, because I'm assuming that at that point it means you have done the work on yourself, because I had to first start here. Do the work on you first, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Make sure you are healthy, you're eating right, you're exercising, you're meditating, you're reading, you're on a spiritual journey to become the best version of yourself. Emotionally, you are balanced enough to be able to hear criticism without feeling like somebody's tearing you apart. And you can sit there and take it, and you can apologize, and you have a well-rounded, structured personality or behavior or character, and that intellectually you're growing and become the best version of yourself. You are learning, you're expanding. Once you become this type of person, then we will watch who you attract, but on top of that, we watch the behavior now you begin to engage in while you prepare to come and get pregnant, which will be the lifestyle, the food, the drinks, the habits that now prepare you to inseminate. You got to prepare the soil first before you plant the seed. You can't just plant the seed in soil that you've been throwing all sorts of garbage in, okay? It doesn't work like that. We first work the land. Once we work the land, then we plant the seed, and then we talk about how to take care of the seed afterwards. So the next live I will do, and I will do my best to make sure I become consistent this time, because I think I really do have the time now to sit in front of the camera and just shoot. So the next time I do a live, I'm going to talk about the physical things now we need to now get into as men and women to prepare ourselves to get pregnant. Okay, we shouldn't just rush to get pregnant. We must get the woman ready first, so that because some men, that's what leads, in some instances, that's what leads to the miscarriage. miscarriage or from the fact that yes, insemination happened, okay, and then germination happened, right? The child began to develop, but because the environment is so toxic, the child eventually gives up, okay, can't thrive. The environment is not conducive. So then to the miscarriage and whatnot. It's because the environment is polluted. So we gotta deal with the environment afterwards. So I said what I said, man, and I'm not apologetic about it. I hope it offends somebody who needed to hear it, and I hope that somebody who really needed to hear it has positioned themselves to say, okay, now I'm gonna make sure I do things better now, So I like to thank you, family, for hanging out with me. I truly appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys on the next live. I love myself. Cheers.